Mosaic is brought to you by these generous sponsors and underwriters. Learn how you can support Mosaic by visiting jewishpalmbeach.org. Good morning, I'm Barbara Kay, here with Susan Portnoy, and welcome to Mosaic, Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County's weekly news magazine show.
The Atlantic is one of the most provocative and talked about magazines covering American politics and culture. Today, we'll have a very special discussion with the Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, about his unique outlook based on his experiences living in and covering the Middle East. We'll be right back with Mosaic after this brief commercial break.
Don't miss the Mandel JCC's 28th annual Palm Beach Film Festival, happening now through February 11th. The renowned festival features a variety of powerful, entertaining films on Jewish issues and culture. Films are playing at theaters across Palm Beach County. See the full schedule and buy your tickets now at palmbeachjewishfilm.org.
Please consider supporting Mosaic's generous sponsors at Bruce Gendelman Insurance Services. Visit gendelman.com today for your expert consultation.
Our lives are made of memories, but when those memories start to fade, your happiness shouldn't follow. At Morse Life's Memory Care Residences, your loved one is safe and secure with the very best care from our staff who are specially trained to work with memory loss. The greatest luxury of all is the peace of mind that awaits at the gold standard Memory Care Residences at Morse Life. Find the life you love again. Secure your lease today. The Memory Care Residences at Morse Life.
Jewish Federation is rolling out the red carpet for you on March 8th for one night, a celebration of impact. Featured speaker Mark Platt is an award-winning theater, film, and TV producer whose projects include Wicked, La La Land, and many other modern-day classics. One night is taking place at the Palm Beach County Convention Center and features special receptions for Jewish Professionals Network and major donors to Federation. Learn more and RSVP now at jewishpalmbeach.org/one-night. Joining us is award-winning journalist Jeffrey Goldberg, who is the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic and also an author of, and I've got to get the title correct, The Prisoners, A Muslim and Jew Across the Middle East Divide. Welcome to Mosaic, and I first want to congratulate you on 160 years of The Atlantic.
That's I don't look a day over 158.
You don't, but that's quite an anniversary.
It is. I can't take credit for it, but we've been around for a while.
You're obviously doing something right over there.
I think so.
Yes.
I hope so.
Why did you choose journalism as a career?
That's an interesting question. I couldn't do anything else. I chose it in high school. I just was nosy but shy. And so I didn't really have a choice if I wanted to be nosy and go into things, but I had this natural shyness. The only way I could do it is if I had an excuse to talk to people, and the excuse was being a reporter.
You write a lot about Jewish issues, and when you were young, did you grow up with a strong sense of Jewish identity, or where did that come from?
I don't know where it came from. I grew up in, I was born in Brooklyn, raised mainly on Long Island, Jewish milieu for a lot of that, or some of that. You know, in New York, especially 30 years ago, you're just sort of, the ambient, the atmosphere around you is Jewish in some ways. I went to Israel when I was 13 for my bar mitzvah. My parents didn't want to throw a Long Island bar mitzvah. God bless them for that. I caught the bug there. I literally caught a bug. I got terribly sick my first time in Israel, but I caught the street food.
Jaffa.
Yes, anything really. But I became fascinated, and I wanted to participate in this. I've always had, I don't know why, I've always had a pretty acute sense of history, sort of where we all fit in the long march of history, and I thought this is a pretty amazing thing that's just happened. In terms of history, it's just happened, right? Israel's only going to be 70 this year, right? So 30 whatever years ago it was, and my bar mitzvah was an even younger country. I thought, wow, well, this is an interesting thing to take part in, and an interesting experiment to take part in, and I just became enamored of that. So I guess I came to Jewishness more through Israel than through the Reformed temple I went to on Long Island.
And then you went to University of Pennsylvania.
I did indeed.
And you
The first Jew. Kidding.
I know.
Like the millionth Jew.
But you wrote for the paper, or were you?
Yeah, I wrote for the paper. I became editor of the paper, the Daily Pennsylvanian at Penn. No, it was the only thing I've ever done, really. I mean, I've had summer jobs and whatever. But and I worked on a kibbutz for a while. I was a farmer.
Well, I'd like to talk about that. You left school to work on a kibbutz in Israel.
Yeah.
What motivated you to do that?
I was part of after I came back from Israel when I was a kid, I joined a Zionist youth group that was a part of the kibbutz movement. And so I just thought I really want to see what this is about up close. I mean, we had a make-believe kibbutz summer camp in the Catskills. There was like 1 cow and 4 chickens, but I really wanted to experience the real deal. So I lived on a kibbutz for a while. And I was in the Army when I was living on the kibbutz also.
And during your army stint, you worked as a prison guard?
Yeah, I worked in a prison. This was the first Palestinian uprising, and so they assigned me as a military policeman to this prison filled with Palestinians, 6,000 Palestinians, different factions, but all pretty much unified in their hatred for Israel and for me. Although, you know, part of the interesting thing about that was, and that's part of the book that I wrote on the subject, part of the interesting thing was that I was up close and personal with them, so I really got to talk to them a lot, and I learned a lot about them. They learned a lot about us. Not exactly a fair balance when you're in the prison, but I became, in a manner of speaking, friends with some of them. I just found their lives really fascinating.
Didn't you forge a very personal relationship with one particular prisoner?
Yeah. One of them was a very smart kid. I just started talking to him. We like to talk about politics. I mean, through the fence, and then it turned out, in just sort of a weird coincidence of history, that he got out of prison, he went to college in Gaza, he's a statistician, he was studying statistics, smart guy. And then he came to American University in Washington to get his PhD. I happened to live at the time right near American University, so somehow we found each other that way. So it's quite odd. I mean, it was sort of like a parlor trick. Whenever we were together, somebody would say, "How do you guys know each other?" I said, well,
that is. I mean, that's hard to. You can't make that up.
Yeah, no, you can't make that up. You really can't.
So, are you still friendly today?
We communicate. He lives in the Middle. He's back in the Middle East. He's in the United Arab Emirates as a professor. So it's a little bit hard.
But does your experience on such an intimate level give you any insight into any potential peace between Palestinians?
Yes and no. On a personal level, you know, it's possible to forge these friendships, but you know, the thing is, it's not a personal conflict. It's a political, theological conflict, a real estate conflict. It's a tribal conflict, you know. And he's on one side of a divide, and I'm on the other. And
so there's no convincing each other of their point
well,
of view?
I mean, no. There's no. You can make it harder to hate each other if you become friends on a personal level, but I don't know if that actually affects the way things are going to go, the way things are going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. It's very difficult to convince somebody else if you have an internal clock that tells you.
I mean, we don't have, we have plenty of proof in this country right now that it's very hard to convince somebody who thinks another way to think your way. And it's much deeper in the Middle East. The conflicts and the divides are much deeper.
And they go long,
They go
long
long.
way
They go
back.
long back.
Yes. We'll be right back with more of Jeffrey Goldberg after this brief message. Coming up, more from our interview with The Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg.
Please consider supporting Mosaic sponsors at Lesser, Landy & Smith. Visit lesserlawfirm.com to learn more.
Your vehicle deserves world-class service. Here at Brayman Motor Cars, you can drop off your car with confidence that you will receive the highest quality service from our certified technicians and Brayman Motor Cars staff. Take advantage of our complimentary cafe, Starbucks coffee, and customer lounge equipped with Wi-Fi while you wait for your vehicle. Yet another reason why you should join Club Brayman. A world-class experience is the Brayman Motor Cars difference. Now at West Palm Beach and Jupiter.
Our lives are made of memories, but when those memories start to fade, your happiness shouldn't follow. At Morse Life's Memory Care Residences, your loved one is safe and secure with the very best care from our staff who are specially trained to work with memory loss. The greatest luxury of all is the peace of mind that awaits at the gold standard Memory Care Residences at Morse Life. Find the life you love again. Secure your lease today. The Memory Care Residences at Morse Life.
Don't miss the Mandel JCC's 28th annual Palm Beach Film Festival, happening now through February 11th. The renowned festival features a variety of powerful, entertaining films on Jewish issues and culture. Films are playing at theaters across Palm Beach County. See the full schedule and buy your tickets now at palmbeachjewishfilm.org.
Please consider supporting Mosaic's generous sponsors at Bruce Gendelman Insurance Services. Visit gendelman.com today for your expert consultation.
Our lives are made of memories, but when those memories start to fade, your happiness shouldn't follow. At Morse Life's Memory Care Residences, your loved one is safe and secure with the very best care from our staff who are specially trained to work with memory loss. The greatest luxury of all is the peace of mind that awaits at the gold standard Memory Care Residences at Morse Life. Find the life you love again. Secure your lease today. The Memory Care Residences at Morse Life.
We're here with Jeffrey Goldberg, and we were just talking about your friendship with a prisoner of a Palestinian prisoner when you were in Israel. And you stayed after your IDF experience, and you wrote for the Jerusalem Post. How was that as an American, from an American perspective?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of Americans and Brits separated by a common language, right? Working on the Jerusalem Post. I mean, it was my first experience as a reporter in the Middle East. I mean, I was very young. And it's kind of the deep end of the pool in journalism. The Middle East reporting is the deep end of the pool for anyone, especially if you're 24 or 25.
Think so.
Yeah, because there's so much to know, and there's so many landmines along the way that you say a certain thing, you call a certain place by a certain name, everybody goes crazy, you know. So it was a good early experience in doing this.
Well, you seem to like a lot of excitement and risk-taking. I know when you were working for the New York Times, you traveled to Pakistan and other places. Could you talk about that experience?
Well, I've always had this interest in Muslim fundamentalism. I try to, you know, before 9/11, I'm talking about, I was always curious. Part of that is from my original Israeli army experience, like in meeting some of these guys from Hamas and just realizing that their thinking is so different. The way they understand the world, the way they refract everything through the prism of what they believe God wants them to do, and that includes violence, right? And I can't say that I could have predicted 9/11, but I spent a lot of time in Pakistan and Afghanistan in 1999 and 2000. And I knew that something was, I mean, it was so, you know, it was so early in this thing that I was in Kandahar once, and I heard about this Kandahar, which was the Taliban capital. And I heard about this guy. This is like '98. You know, we'd heard about a guy named Osama bin Laden, and I found out where he was supposed to live. And so I went with just a Afghan friend, and knocked on the door. I mean, he wasn't home, but I mean, this is before 9/11. He just had a house.
But yet it was a very frightening time, and you just took all these risks as a Jew.
Yeah, but back in the day, before Danny Pearl,
well, that's
may his memory be a blessing. Before Danny Pearl was killed, the Wall Street Journal reporter who was captured by Al Qaeda in Pakistan, killed
in 2002.
2002. Before that, and certainly before 9/11, also, I don't know. You just don't. You don't think. You don't think that it could happen to you.
Right.
No. But I mean, American reporters weren't really targeted by anybody. We didn't know that Bin Laden then wasn't Bin Laden as we understand him now. He was still a terrorist. He had still done terrorism against Americans, but he was kind of run-of-the-mill, not well known, so on. Yeah, in retrospect, it was stupid, but at the time, it seemed like this is something that I had to do, and also. The mission itself I thought was important, which is to say Muslim fundamentalist terrorists believe some crazy stuff, right? And people don't understand how they believe or what they believe, and they always ascribe different motives to terrorism. Well, it must be because he was poor, or he's oppressed by this, or it's an economic rationale. And one of the things I tried to do in all of this reporting was say, no, these are people, treat them with respect, they have ideas. They have beliefs, and they act on these ideas and they beliefs. It's not about poverty. I mean, if poverty...
Which makes it more frightening.
Yeah, I mean, if poverty were the cause of terrorism, then Haiti would be the world center of terrorism, right?
Right.
I mean, and it's not. So this has to be something else going on, right, in a culture and a religion. And so I was very interested in the rise of this fundamentalist strain of Islam, and I wanted to talk to them for myself because I wanted to come back to America and tell people, writing mainly and speaking, well, no, this is what people think. So I did a lot of that, before 9/11, and then of course after 9/11, and try to convince people, no, you have to take this seriously.
Well, you were also rewarded for this with a very prestigious award, the Daniel Pearl Award for Outstanding International Investigative Reporting. You received that in 2003.
Yeah,
they
that was
renamed it for him.
They named, it was an award that was renamed for Daniel Pearl. Which was very nice. I mean, I knew Danny Pearl a little bit, admired him, knew him from Pakistan, actually. Yeah, that was for a series of pieces on Hezbollah, the Iranian proxy group in Lebanon. And I spent a lot of time running around looking for them.
Well, when you were at The Atlantic in 2015, you wrote a fascinating essay, Is It Time for the Jews to Leave Europe? Mm-hmm. Tell us about the genesis for that article.
It's all rooted in the same thing. There's some number of Muslim radicals in Europe who have the same belief system as some of these people in Syria, and Lebanon, and Pakistan, and Afghanistan, who are not being acculturated, assimilated into European societies. And I mean, I don't have to tell you or your viewers that periodically you hear terrible stories from London, Paris, Brussels, and so on, of Barcelona, of terrible terrorist attacks. It's all motivated out of the same thing. It's one of the reasons, and these groups are one of the reasons that life for those Jews who remain in Europe, remember it's not a large number of Jews in Europe relative to Israel and the United States, but those who remain live in a pretty precarious situation. It's not just the threat of the big terrorism, it's sort of the street level, harassment and assault.
Could you give us some examples of that, such as what happened in Toulouse with...
well, that was serious terrorism. I mean, that was the attack on a Jewish school by a terrorist named Mohammed Merah, who at the opening, morning, when people are dropping off their kids, came into the courtyard of this Jewish school, yeshiva, and shot to death 3 small children and a parent and teacher. And it's really, that one's always sort of floored me. One, because we killed tiny children, shot them. I mean, it wasn't just a bomb that you left in a school and it exploded, and it was like every decision to kill a small child was deliberate there with him. And it just makes me think, I don't know what happened inside this person, inside this brain, to make him feel such level of hatred to Jews that he would murder Jewish children. I mean, we we have an obvious example in European history of that phenomenon. It's not a new phenomenon, but it's still, to think that it's happening in a democracy in France and, you know, in this century,
It's
something
really
else.
frightening. And in a suburb of France, you met with some high school students from an art school, I think.
Yeah.
And they were talking about pretty disturbing situations.
Yeah, you know, here's the saddest thing I heard, and this is not something that I think American Jews really can relate to. In some of the suburbs are where the sort of the tougher parts. It's not like...
Hold that thought. We're going to take a little break. We'll be right back after this brief message.
Coming up, more from our interview with the Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg. Jewish Federation is rolling out the red carpet for you on March 8th for one night, a celebration of impact. Featured speaker Mark Platt is an award-winning theater, film, and TV producer whose projects include Wicked, La La Land, and many other modern-day classics. One night is taking place at the Palm Beach County Convention Center and features special receptions for Jewish Professionals Network and major donors to Federation. Learn more and RSVP now at jewishpalmbeach.org/one night.
The all-new Brayman Porsche, a world-class experience.
Club Raymond is amazing.
World-class dedication.
It's the most exciting thing. I recommend it to anybody. I don't care what your skill level is.
World-class excitement.
I think it's a great brand. These cars are designed to go this fast.
World-class performance.
They took me out to the track to race the car. Anyone that wants to get a Porsche, Raymond's the place to go.
The all-new Brayman Porsche, a world-class experience.
Tell us about the students at the art school.
Yeah. So this is not a phenomenon that American Jews can understand, I think, because of the nature of our society. But in many of the suburbs of Paris, tougher places of Paris, the city, the middle of the city is safe, and it's the suburbs that are a little precarious. A lot of Jews have taken down their mezuzahs, the mezuzot, from their doorposts because they are, obviously, it's a signal to the outside world that the Jews live here. But so that's disturbing enough, right? If you don't think you can actually express yourself. It's like wearing a kippah or a Jewish star or something. You can't do that. But the really disturbing thing, I'll never forget this, is that in some of the apartment buildings, some Jews were going to other Jews who still had a mezuzah on their door and asking them to take it down. In other words, Jews pressuring other Jews out of fear to remove a mezuzah. And to my mind, I mean, it's like, if that's how bad it's gotten, if you have an option, what are you doing there? You know, and that's why of course, a lot of French Jews look at Israel and think, you know, maybe I should stay here or plant one foot here and keep one foot there.
But yet some people do stay. They feel
a lot of people stay, sure.
And some of the reasons are.
Why do you stay? I mean, why do you stay in your home? You know, it's your home. It's where you live. It's where you've grown up. It's where your parents probably still live, and they don't probably want to move to Israel at the age of 70 or 80. I'm just sort of picturing a typical middle-aged Jewish couple with kids, right? Your work is in Paris or Brussels or Stockholm or whatever, your business maybe, or you imagine.
I was actually in Morocco last March, and we were with elderly people that were crying. The Jewish agency was trying to get them to move to Israel, and they didn't want to move because
they want to die in their home.
They want to die in their homes, and they don't want to leave the grave sites.
Yeah.
Who's going to watch the graves?
That's the saddest part.
It is.
Right. That's
really sad. Tell us about the rabbi that you met in Malmo. What's going on there?
You know, I was thinking to myself, this is, you know how Chabad sends emissaries, rabbis all over the world, yeah. And I guess it's the luck of the draw. Some people get, you know, Aspen, Colorado, and this particular one got Malmo, Sweden, which is a place with very few Jews, very hostile, large Muslim population. Part of it is very hostile to the Jews, and just radicalized community there, or part of the community. To be fair, some of the Muslims try to look out for this rabbi. This rabbi is identifiably Jewish, obviously, it's Chabad. Only person dressed like that in all of this big city. This is right across this body of water from Copenhagen. And you know, he's probably sort of the victim of more, maybe you would call it drive-by harassment of Jews than anybody in Europe. I mean, people scream at him and throw bottles at him and all the rest, and he feels like he's the only rabbi in Malmo. There's an old synagogue that he's sort of in charge of. There's a population, there's a few hundred Jews. And, you know, just to imagine, I mean, here in South Florida, it's not uncommon at all to see Orthodox Jews walking down the street. Very few of them are ever molested by anybody, you know, for being Jewish. It's just really a totally different experience. I walked with him one Shabbat from his synagogue to his house, and just cars slowing down to look, not even angrily or anything, just like, what are they, how is that possible? They've seen this on TV, but they couldn't imagine that it's real.
It's just
bizarre.
It is.
And so my reaction as an American Jew is, to go back to your other question about why people stay, my reaction is, why do you stay? I mean, like this doesn't, I understand all the reasons that all the ties that bind you to a place, but it still sort of is tough.
So, in conclusion of your article, do you think most of the Jews should leave? Should they get out of there?
I mean, on the one hand, yes, there's no profoundly positive Jewish future in Europe. I mean, we knew that in 1945, obviously. What you have in Europe is the vestiges of great Jewish communities. But the Jewish community of the main Jewish communities, of course, were in Europe before World War II. Now the two main Jewish communities are Israel and the United States. I wouldn't want to tell somebody to leave their home, but I also want people to be aware of what's around them, and it's not as if the Jewish communities there are going to get bigger or stronger. And it's not as if the problem of anti-Semitism in Europe is going to disappear. We have a lot of experience with European anti-Semitism, and it's sort of foolish to think that that's going to disappear.
It's such a sad commentary.
Yes, we're ending this on a very depressing note.
It is ending.
But the weather's nice here.
The weather is very nice,
Yeah.
but can we, one more topic, let's switch to journalism.
Yes.
And how, it's a hot topic right now.
It is.
Yes.
Especially in Palm Beach.
It's very much so.
Yeah.
Oh, so what do you think about all of the issues surrounding fake news and responsibilities that journalists must take?
I think fake news is a weapon used by somebody who doesn't want the truth to get out to make journalists unpopular. Obviously, good journalists have a responsibility to adhere to the truth and report the facts as they see them. If the president is right on occasion that somebody's getting something wrong, they should correct it. But most of the time, he's using this as a weapon to keep people from talking about the things that journalists are reporting accurately.
That's true.
There's truth.
There's truth. I could talk to you for hours, but we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Mosaic is brought to you by these generous sponsors and underwriters.